we've told you, this season we are following the New Frontiers Ag Hall landscape development, and this is the beginning of several episodes that we're going to do over this season. As you can see, we're just starting out, but joining me today is Nick Ouellette, who is with OSU Landscape Services, and you are responsible for turning this into a beautiful landscape, right?
Yes, Casey, thank you. So I'm our Landscape University Landscape Design Manager, and like you said, part of Facilities Management Landscape Services, and we have a design team of 2.
Okay, that's a lot of work. So we've got a lot of construction happening on OSU's campus, so you're not unfamiliar with this sort of palette to start with, right?
No, not at all. So we have about 700 acres that Facilities Management maintains on campus, and our design team of 2 gets the pleasure to look at the big picture of everything on campus and be involved throughout the whole design process and manage the landscape master plan, which kind of sets some of our guidelines and how we follow things. And that kind of sets the groundwork for everything we do.
Right. So obviously we're still kind of visiting a construction site today, so it hasn't necessarily been turned over to you guys yet. But you're not waiting for that, right? You've been planning, you've got it all laid out what's going to happen here. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of when maybe we started, but I bet you it was back from like 2018, 2019 maybe, when we first started kind of understanding some of the design developments that studio architecture kind of worked on.
Okay.
So we knew the layout, the kind of the plan of the building, say the architecture features. And then that's when long-range planning brought us aboard to kind of really understand then how we can design the landscape and make that accessible and kind of tie that into the existing parts of our landscape.
Okay, so there's a lot of big features that are going to be added into the landscape around here, and you got some of those nailed down. Of course, you know, things change, right, with construction and stuff, so there's going to be some flux and everything. But can you tell us a few of the stuff that you know is going to happen here?
Well, it's like you said. So, we start off with dreaming big, right? So we try to understand, what makes, the site very conducive for student interaction and engagement and learning possibilities. Also looking at how the site safety and site access and how it flows. So we kind of come up with some plans then of how it ties in, and then start developing the planting beds, understand utilities, looking at what kind of utilities we're working with, how the landscape beds and sidewalks work with those utilities. Our grade is a big one, understanding drainage of water, how that kind of goes.
And a lot of these are same things that homeowners of new homes would be thinking about too, right?
You got to think about your site conditions.
Right.
So basically we develop a site analysis that really kind of is what all of that is, and kind of helps direct, a lot of our landscape choices based on the conditions of the site and what the plans are, the features of the building.
Okay, and we're on the back side here, so we're, it's going to be a lot of shade between here and the Noble Research Center, right? And so again, that exposure goes into plantings.
Big time. So, we actually had to make quite a few changes in this area when it came to when Landscape Services kind of got their feet into the project, because immediately we noticed that, maybe drainage from the way the water goes across the sidewalk and how there's no sun to dry that up and kind of prepare the site.
And you're thinking about students in the wintertime with ice and that sort of stuff too,
yeah,
right?
Because not only are we maintaining it for just, classes, and then you got, all the winter activities that goes on, and
right,
understanding the whole flow of all seasons.
Well, I know one of the features that you guys like to do is also go vertical, right? So, I mean, you've got a large building, and so you don't want just this short landscape in front of it. So what are some of the tree features that you might be adding around?
Yes, that's a great question. So we kind of have what I consider an institutional design on campus, and we use a lot of architectural features to kind of accentuate our Neo-Georgian architecture that we have. And we have tailored junipers, which is a type of juniper that is only maybe 2 feet wide and maybe gets about 40 to 65 feet tall. So we have a lot of that to kind of balance some of this architecture, and it's got that continuity then, and it ties it into what we already have existing on campus with some of those plant features. Otherwise, we have other types of trees that are maybe like shade trees and other types of upright ones too, but That's probably the biggest one you'll see when you come in.
And I know one of the things that I love about our campus is you guys are really good about finding little niches and niches to put in unique garden spaces and have those kind of private study areas and stuff like that. So what might we be expecting as regard to that?
That's probably the most fun in this whole type of design part is looking for those spots to create the learning activities. So we do have a small plaza area. Right now it's developed with our campus standard site furnishings. That includes like bike loops, our standard trash cans, standard lighting, standard tables, standard benches. And we're actually in a pretty close proximity to where there'll be a dairy bar inside this ag hall. Okay. And we have a special little outdoor seating area with some outdoor architectural elements that we're bringing that are reclaimed architectural elements to kind of help tie everything together too. So we're pretty excited about that. And then accentuate the landscape around it using a lot of our natural stone, rock mulches, and different types of plant material to kind of make that space more inviting and create that sense of learning space.
So it's hard for me to fathom that just in a few months, this is going to go from this into a beautiful landscape this fall. When you actually get on this site, what's the first step that your crew's going to actually do?
Well, we have our, we call them site meetings with the general contractor, and that's Flintco that is managing this project. So we kind of get with them to start putting a schedule together. We start reviewing our drawings, how our drawings tie into theirs. And the first thing that's going to occur is kind of them getting the initial grade set. And that actually is coming up here. It'll be in about a month from now. We expect the very south end of this project to start having its grading completed or initiated, and they'll kind of move themselves then around the east, north side and kind of go a clockwise position. And then we'll follow in right behind them. And irrigation is the first thing that we'll kind of go with, kind of setting in the groundwork. Our utilities is first, there too. And then we start with some hardscape materials. So some more of the pathways, garden features, things in that nature, and then kind of tie in the landscape and soil reconstruction at that point.
I would imagine soil reconstruction is going to be a big thing after seeing what it looks like right now and having all this heavy equipment on it as well. So
yeah, to start a project like this, they have to get to a 99% compaction rate on their soil. So we're really taking, compaction construction soil, which is not conducive for growing plants and things of that nature. And our budget is not that large either, so we have to work with what we got. But again, this isn't our first building we've done on campus, so we kind of have got the process down and understand that scarification, and which is basically the process of kind of breaking the top layer of the soil and allowing the water and oxygen to kind of percolate and mixing in then our types of soil that works best for those type of plants that we have. So each garden bed kind of has its own soil modifications that are all tied into it.
Well, Nick, I know you and your team know what you're doing because there's plenty of evidence around campus. So we look forward to checking back in with you.
Well, thank you. I look forward to sharing it with you.
Thanks. We hope you enjoyed this video as part of our Oklahoma Gardening YouTube channel. You can also find even more videos on the OK Gardening Classics YouTube channel. And join us on social media for great gardening tips, photos, and discussion.